We are going to create database again, and I'll show you that bring your own license option also. I am still selecting the standard create button here. Okay, let's say I select Oracle. Okay, so I have selected Oracle. Amazon RDS custom, that is also possible, and then you can have your media prepared and all these type of stuff. Let me select Microsoft SQL Server. Now Microsoft SQL Server worked a little differently, because here you would be able to select the versions of it, whether you need RDS, which Express Edition version you have, or Web Edition version, whatever version you need, you could have used it. And if you have your own licenses, we have a dedicated team who helps you in these kind of stuff, that hey, I want to bring my own licenses, so you can check with them and they can give you, see this one says this license is included. So if you're looking for something else, check with our team and they should be able to help you in that case, right? So I'm selecting a RDS service. Let's select a Postgres SQL server here, and we would just go ahead and deploy. I would walk you through the process of deployment. Settings may be a little different depending on the engine you select, but most of the time it would be similar, not exact same, but similar. So we selected Postgres SQL, and let's get started from there. I would select what template I want to start with. So production, obviously it would give me high availability and faster performance. You can imagine cost would be higher. I am doing some development and testing. I could select dev test. In this case, I am focusing more on the cost saving, not on the performance, because I'm just doing development or testing. And then we have free tier. In free tier, you would be given only choice to deploy a free tier database or the setting which is available on free tier. So if you are experimenting or testing on your free account, I would suggest to go with this particular free tier option. Otherwise, you could have selected production or dev test. It is purely up to you. So let's select production and see what other option you could have selected based on production. Next thing I can see here is called my deployment option is multi-AZ DB cluster, multi-AZ DB instances, and single DB instances. So these are different options available, and obviously this would impact your cost. So if I'm selecting a single DB instance, only one of them is running for me. If I select multi-AZ DB instance, then I have a primary and a standby. And if I'm looking for a cluster, then I would select multi-AZ cluster. What I would select additionally, I would select the database name. I would select the username and password for it. I would select what size I am looking for my database server. At the back end, it is still a server, virtual or physical, which is giving you this much of capability. So you could see, you could start small, 2 CPU, 8 GB RAM, or if you are looking for bigger, I am looking, let's say M6i 32 extra large, which will give me 128 CPU and 512 GB of RAM. So that is also possible. I could have selected that too, shouldn't be a problem. So decide what your requirements are, and you can obviously change it. It's not a permanent setting. So you decided to test with 2 CPU, then you realize more performance is needed, you could go ahead and add more capacity, should not be a problem. Then we provide you storage, which can be also selected. So you have option here which says, hey, I am looking for a magnetic storage. Maybe I do not require a lot of performance. I am looking for GP2, which is a very baseline performance, and I am looking for very flexible performance. Then I can select provision IOPS. So it will depend on what you need. But also setting is that you have option which is enable storage auto scaling. So if you remember, if you worked in database industry, a lot of time DB admin would be doing a lot of expansion. Hey, your database is coming up to the capacity, please add more storage. We made it a checkbox activity. So we would start your database with 100 GB what you selected, and till it reaches 1000, we won't ask you to add it. We would keep on adding any required space for you. So we would maintain it for you. We will do auto scaling. We don't want you to pay right now for 1000 GB. Start small, but don't worry till it reaches 1000 GB, because we would keep on adding capacity for you. So should not be option. Right, so that is possible. Vijay is asking a question, what about vaulting of admin ID password? See, what we have a tool called Secrets Manager, so you could use that tool. right? So there is secrets manager tool where you could have automatically generated password. You could put rotation settings on the password. So that is all possible. You could stay into secrets manager. Thanks, James, for that. So yes, we could have services like secrets manager we can utilize. Tanu has a question. Can it be integrated with other services? Hope you are asking about uh, the secrets manager. So secret manager, yes, it can be integrated, and databases can also be integrated with other services like AWS backup or CloudWatch or CloudTrail. So it would integrate with that. Now, database itself is still a server, right? It would require some networking setting. So I would obviously require subnet group. I could make it publicly accessible, not a good choice. We should always keep our databases into private network. So yes, you could put it into private network or public if you require. Again, the same control and mechanism of security group, which is there, which you could utilize it. So we could put this thing into a security group. I could use existing security group if I need to. Some additional configuration like a port number for my database. I could go ahead and say what kind of authentication I'm looking for, and maybe some additional configuration like what would be the first database name, parameters, because we may want to configure some settings with the database when it is getting ready. So this is my way of customizing it. Plus we have option to choose a window of maintenance when the backup would be performed, how long you want to keep the backup, do you want to enable encryption or not, what key would be utilized for that, do you want to do some monitoring on that, so we give you performance insight, and then some more granularity of monitoring, do you want to export your log when the maintenance will happen, and see this enable auto minor version upgrade. So we would take care of monitoring and patching for you. You don't have to worry. You just have to tell me a window and we would do this in that case. We can even do enable delete protection and say create database, right? So that is a good way to get started and create a database. It may take 5 minutes, 6 minutes to get started depending on what you asked. So to save time, what I did, I have pre-created a database and I'll quickly show you that what happens once my database gets ready. So this is a database which is coming up here. I have one database created in morning just for this particular demo. So it is currently available. It is in a VPC. It is not multi-AZ. It's not having any maintenance going on. It is currently available and it is DBM66 large and it is running MySQL Community Edition. So this is my database. So once my database is ready, how we connect to the database? What we can do in this particular case, that I want to ensure that I have a connection string to connect to my database, and that would be provided to you. So here, once my database is ready, we give you an endpoint and a port. This is your connection string. You will go to your application, point that JDBC connected to this database endpoint, give a port number, allow it from the security group traffic, and you are good to go. And there is a certificate also generated for it. This is a security group setting. So this is my connectivity and security, and you are having EUS1B where my this database is running. I can do monitoring, logs and event, configuration setting, maintenance and backup, and tag. These are all the available options for me. Let me check some configuration settings on that. So this is my database engine version, option groups, multi-AZ or not, parameter group, any recommendation. So this is also good. If we realize that your database is struggling with some performance issues and you have to fix it, we could go ahead and give you these kind of settings if the need be. And obviously you have option to modify these things based on your requirement, should not be a problem at all. So that is a high level what a RDS database is, right? Okay, so let me go ahead and talk more on that. So what we can do, we can support high availability and read replica, and I'll talk a little bit more on that. You can take snapshot, and snapshot can be copied across region. Let's say you want to maintain data into multiple locations, so that is possible. We can copy across region. If you are migrating, so what if I already have my database on-prem and now I want to bring it to cloud? So that time I can use services provided by AWS, which is called DMS, Database Migration Service, and it can do a lot of homogeneous and heterogeneous migration for you. And when it comes to pricing, if you remember our EC2 discussion, you could have on-demand EC2 instances or you could have reserved instances. Similarly, RDS also gives you reserved instance option so that you could save money and only pay for so you get discount because you are committing for long term. So that is also possible. Pricing is supported on demand and on reserved instance basis. Okay. Can we integrate third-party tools for database backup? See, Pradeep, what is going to happen here that if your third party tool requires a connection string of database, like it just require give me the JDBC connection and I will take backup of it. So yes, no problem in that. But if your backup software requires access to operating system where your database is running, then it may not work, because being a managed service, you do not get access directly to the operating system. It is controlled by Amazon. So you won't be able to get that. Licensing, it would depend, Vijay Singh, that some options would allow you to bring licenses. I'll show that in a minute. That's what I was trying to show you when I selected Oracle. So it would allow you to bring your own licenses if you have those licenses in the system. That should not be a problem. So licensing can be maintained. You can bring your own licenses, should not be a problem in most cases. Okay. All right. Uh, does that mean we cannot use net backup and Commvault backup solution? Vijay, I would say if it requires an agent to be installed on the database operating system, I would say no. Right? I still have to check exact details of how net backup and Commvault work, but anything which requires you to get access of the operating system where your database is running, probably it won't be supported, because then we lose the manageability or manageability of that database. So probably that won't work. But if your database backup software just requires a JDBC connection and captures details from there, then it should not be a problem. Right? So check with those vendor. Every vendor has a different way of working, so I won't comment completely on that. Best to check with those backup solution whether they support Amazon RDS or not. Good. Okay. Now, no worries at all. uh, what else? Can customer use their own Oracle license, and how the cost if we use Oracle on EC2? Ramakrishna, you can check the cost explorer calculator.aws. So you can then check, hey, what EC2 machine you are looking for and what performance you are expecting from it. So that should not be a problem. Right. Daniel has a question. There is any kind of database connection pool? Yes, you can. There is something called proxy service, Daniel, in databases. So we support that. There is a database proxy, RDS proxy services. So it may work like a pool where proxy is connected to multiple databases and you could just talk to proxy. Backend can change, should not be a problem. All right. So yes, these are all possibilities. And things which you are not which you think is not available today, probably Amazon is already working on getting those things, because this is always evolving. Lots of things are changing. We are coming up with lots of feature, lots of flexibility. So user should not have lot of complication, and we have customer who are running lots and lots of databases in environment, and they get benefited from it. In case you realize that, hey, my use case can't be solved by RDS, go ahead to a EC2 machine, install whatever database you want and start running it. That is still possible. Still, it will save you some time. Not everything would be done automatically, but still you would be able to save a lot of time for yourself. So that option is always available. Okay.